When it comes to Avatar history, few rivalries are as intense as Roku versus Kyoshi. These two past avatars mastered their elements in very different ways, so if we were to put their skills head to head, who would come out on top? Would it be Roku, the wise firebender who struggled to maintain balance in his time, or Kyoshi, the relentless earthbender who wasn't afraid to get her hands dirty for the sake of peace? This showdown was requested by @Hayes621, and I've gotta say, this one's going to be epic, so let's jump right in. This is Mindbursters. If you love epic rankings and intense showdowns, then consider subscribing. It not only helps the channel grow, but ensures you never miss out on the action coming your way. Let's begin with Roku.
It is our honor to serve you, Avatar Roku.
As a bender, he was incredibly powerful, mastering all four elements to their fullest extent. His firebending was top-notch, even among the Fire Nation's best. It wasn't just about raw power. He had a deep understanding of how to use each element effectively.
I mastered it as well.
But what really made Roku stand out was his ability to combine elements in creative ways. Remember when he faced that volcanic eruption on his island? Yeah, it's not every day you see someone trying to hold back an erupting mountain. He used airbending to push away the toxic gases and cool the lava, and his earthbending during that battle was just on another level. The fact that he nearly stopped a whole volcanic eruption says a lot about his sheer strength and versatility. We've also seen Roku go up against another powerful bender, Sozin.
Don't do this, Sozin. Don't challenge me.
Sozin could unleash a massive fire blast in an instant, one of the biggest displays of non-comet fire bending, maybe on par with Zhongzhong's firewall. But Roku shut him down so quickly, it was almost embarrassing for Sozin. Imagine being the Fire Lord and then getting humiliated in front of your entire nation. Aish. I bet he wished the ground would swallow him up.
That's rough, buddy.
Some people think Roku dodged Sozin's attack, but if you look closely, he was actually engulfed by the fire and still came out unharmed. He wasn't even moving his hands. He was bending the fire mentally while facing away from the blast. Roku's ability to tunnel underground gave him a huge tactical advantage too. The only other bender who could do something similar was Boomy, and when Roku lifted Sozin into the air with a rock spike, it was impressive because he did it from about 50 feet away, which was amazing since most benders need to be closer to manipulate objects, making their moves easier to predict and avoid. Even though a lot of Roku's impressive feats happened outside of combat, they're not too slow or complex to use in a fight. He could launch enough water to surround the largest building in the Northern Water Tribe with just a flick of his arm, and he once unleashed 4 massive blasts of each element in different directions, sustaining them all with his mind, even after lowering his hands. Now let's shift gears and talk about Kyoshi.
I killed Chin the Conqueror.
She was undoubtedly the most ruthless and longest living avatar in history. This wasn't just about bending skills. Kyoshi brought sheer force of will. Her earthbending feats alone made her stand out as one of the most powerful avatars ever. She single-handedly created Kyoshi Island by separating it from the mainland. Think about that for a second. She literally split tectonic plates with water, drew magma from deep underground, and pushed an entire island away using air. And she did all of that with just a fraction of the Avatar state's full power for a brief moment. We're talking about reshaping the world on a massive scale, something even top earthbenders like Toph would struggle with. Kyoshi wasn't just powerful, she was also physically imposing. She was said to be the largest avatar with the biggest feet, easily standing over 7 feet tall.
The biggest of any avatar.
If we compare her to Combustion Man, one of the tallest figures in the Avatar universe, Kyoshi was at least his height, or maybe even a head taller.
Wait a minute.
There's more. In the novels, we learned that the first time Kyoshi used the Avatar state, she boiled the sea and capsized several ships with rocks shooting up from the ocean floor. Despite being from the Earth Kingdom, Kyoshi actually favored firebending. Her style was ruthless and straightforward, much like her personality. If a blast of fire could get the job done, then that's exactly what she'd do. She also had impressive control over airbending, using it with her war fans to amplify her techniques. And while waterbending wasn't her go-to, she was still able to use it effectively to fight and immobilize enemies.
I created Kyoshi Island so my people could be safe from invaders.
When it came to real combat, Kyoshi's mentality set her apart. She didn't hesitate to use lethal force if it was necessary. She made that crystal clear when dealing with Chin the Conqueror. Instead of sparing him or finding a peaceful solution, she stood her ground. When the earth split beneath him, she didn't offer a hand to save him. She let him fall. That's how unyielding she was.
But you didn't really kill Chin. Technically, he fell to his own doom because he was too stubborn to get out of the way.
Personally, I don't really see the difference.
Her decisiveness in battle wasn't just about physical power, it was about a mindset that didn't allow for second chances. This was someone who declared only justice will bring peace, and meant it with every fiber of her being.
I knew I shouldn't have asked Kyoshi.
So who wins? You see, when it comes to Roku versus Kyoshi, it's really a clash of two very different battle approaches. Roku is more of a traditionalist. He's the kind of bender who values balance and maintaining the harmony of all the elements in his techniques. You'll often see Roku start a fight by feeling out his opponent's strengths and weaknesses. He's calculated, not necessarily in a hesitant way, but in the sense that he doesn't rush things. He combines the elements fluidly, and in most of his battles, he brings fire, air, earth, and water into a balanced mix. You could argue that this versatility gives him the upper hand in a lot of situations, but here's the thing, Kyoshi doesn't play by those rules. She's not about balance, she's about overwhelming force. When Kyoshi steps into a fight, she aims to end it as quickly as possible. When she throws down, you're not getting a harmonious blend of the elements. She uses her bending with the singular goal of breaking her opponent's defense and shattering their resolve. Roku might try to go element for element, but Kyoshi would just bring out the big guns, massive earthbending attacks, giant gusts of wind, or devastating waves, and she wouldn't be afraid to knock you off your feet with a seismic earthquake. Roku, for all his skills and experience, was ultimately held back by his own compassionate nature and hesitation. We saw it against Sozin, where his reluctance to decisively end the threat led to disastrous consequences. If he faced Kyoshi, that hesitation would cost him dearly. She wouldn't give him the time to weigh his options or contemplate the moral high ground. In a straight-up fight, Kyoshi would press every advantage and wouldn't hold back. Kyoshi's earthbending alone is on a whole other level. Roku's feat with the volcano was impressive, but Kyoshi literally shifted tectonic plates to create an island. That kind of power is hard to top. She could reshape the battlefield, create massive stone barriers, or sink sections of land to throw off her opponent. Roku might be able to counter these moves, but matching her sheer power would be a tall order, especially when she's in her element. Let's also consider that Kyoshi didn't see bending as separate from combat. For her, bending was combat. Her experiences and training focused on handling threats decisively, with a mix of offense and defense. Roku, on the other hand, often tried to separate bending from outright aggression, which wouldn't serve him well against someone as relentless as Kyoshi. At the end of the day, Kyoshi's strategy would come down to sheer persistence and power. She knew how to break an opponent's will by dominating the battlefield and forcing them to fight on her terms. It wouldn't be about Roku not being skilled enough, it would be about Kyoshi not giving him the chance to use that skill effectively. Kyoshi was so formidable, even death avoided her. Kyoshi was practically immortal and showed no mercy. Unlike Roku, who spared his friend and ended up allowing the war to happen, Kyoshi wouldn't hesitate for a second. If she thought defeating Roku was the only way to bring justice, she'd freeze his insides without a second thought. It's not to say that Roku wasn't powerful or wise, but when you're facing an opponent who doesn't know the meaning of holding back, sometimes that's what makes all the difference. So Kyoshi wins. But hey, what do you think? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more Avatar battles. This is Mind Bursters. Until next time, stay geeky.